One has to find the whole.
Good evening. Welcome to this Town Council work session on May 23rd, 2024. Larry Chuning's 75th birthday.
Happy birthday, Larry.
And,
Thank you.
and
Happy
so,
birthday.
I certainly did. I swam with him.
Wow.
so let's have a call to order. Roll call. We'll do Sandy Sturgill.
Here.
Mary Hansen.
Here.
Alana Courtney.
Here.
Mayor's here.
Here.
Our birthday boy, Beth Justice.
Here.
Marjorie Austin.
Here.
Having a quorum, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Do I have an approval, a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right. Marjorie Austin.
Yes.
Beth Justice.
Yes.
Larry Chuney.
Yes.
I say yes. Alana Courtney.
Yes.
Mary Hansen.
Yes.
Sandy Sturgill.
Yes.
All right. Let's move to public comment. Christy Anzavino, 350 Howard Street.
This isn't really any kind of comment unless you want to make comments about it, but I would like to present to the town council in the town of Urbanna a picture album of pool construction.
Oh, cool.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, I didn't, the first thing somebody said when they looked at it says, well, why don't you have a picture of the old pool? I said, well, I think we were kind of concentrating on
Yeah.
the pool.
Well, we can get that if you,
Yeah.
it's in our
What I was
archives.
going to show you is the design on this, and you can pass it down if you want, but it's supposed to be a flat like this. So if it comes up a little bit, that's just
The way it's made.
normal.
Fantastic.
Okay.
That's really nice, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You can bring it for the thing on Saturday.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice. That's very
Yeah,
nice.
that's a great thing. Thank you so much, Christy.
It's a lot of time
gosh.
to do that,
And,
which is why I never do it.
well, for the four of you in attendance, Saturday at 11:30.
Is it
And
11?
Be there, be
It's
square.
11.
I would like to
Isn't it
thank
11?
Jim and Sandy.
It's
because
11.
They painted all
Yeah.
the chairs and
Yeah.
all the tables.
Yeah, and they look beautiful.
They
They
do.
do.
Is it 11:30?
It's 11:30.
Is it?
It's 11:30.
Oh, Marnie.
Yeah, what'd I say?
She's so sweet.
You said 11:30, but I
Nice.
thought the flyer that we had said 11.
No,
That's
It says 11:30?
everything's.
Okay, good. I'm just glad to know.
Oh, Heisler.
Thank
Oh,
you.
Yeah.
better to be there until
Really
work.
nice.
I'm-
Thank you, Christy. That's beautiful.
Keeping the shop. 'Cause
All right.
Everything.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I think that was, the council comment was thank you.
Yes, thank you all so
Yes.
much,
Yeah.
too.
I appreciated being on the committee and getting the pool built.
It was only a matter of time, right?
I had my moments.
All right. Moving on. Is this over to you, Ted, for? Got your standing shoes?
Mr. Mayor, members of council, ladies and gentlemen, the first item that I'm bringing forward is actually one that's been brought forward by the treasurer, Michelle Hutton. She's and her husband are vacationing out, so I'm carrying it, but I'll let her carry it officially before you. We've had some problems with the security system at the museum, a lot of false alarms, and remote resets haven't worked. We've had a lot of problems even right after they've been in and repaired. We had somebody else come back in, the alarm's still going off. They're all false alarms, but we have to respond to them to make sure that we really don't have a serious problem. It's like the boy that cries wolf, the one
Right.
that don't go, the wolf will eat the boy. Michelle has gone out and done some research and found a more local company, Starbright. They're actually out of Matthews County. And we would have to basically do a switch out from Johnson to Starbright. So a little bit of logistics work there. And of course, you'd have some startup costs. You have a fee sheet that was provided by Starbright. But when you do the comparison between what we're paying Johnson and then what we would be paying long-term
No.
Starbright after the startup, you're going to save about $2,600.
That's great.
That is great.
So, she's done good research on this. But basically, it's one of those, the other factors here is the Johnson's not local. I mean, it takes them a couple hours. If they respond immediately, it still takes a couple hours for them to drive up from Hampton, Newport News, wherever they're coming in from at that time. So we would recommend, just put this in front of you for consideration at your next meeting to terminate our service contract with Johnson and move to Starbucks. I'm happy to take any questions you have at this time.
Is this
Basically,
something,
the numbers are there from Michelle.
is this something that Franktronics can't handle since we already deal with them for all the other security needs?
I don't believe so. I can ask to see if they can run this, but I think this has a lot to do with tying into 911 centers.
Okay,
That's the big.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's sort of, yeah, it is sort of, that's my understanding too. It's sort of a different,
yeah, I know it calls 911 and the police respond and we
Right.
respond, so
And-
I know that
and
part.
to verify what Mr. Costin is saying, I know that in them having my number over the last year and a half, I routinely got called at least once a week
Well,
with and usually 90% of the time it was, I just want you to know that the panel isn't resetting, so somebody needs to go reset it. Which is,
Physically reset it.
yeah,
Yeah.
which never worked, but at least we knew.
Okay,
So,
So that'll be on your next agenda for action. If that's acceptable.
I'm good with it.
yep.
Okay, moving on. Next item.
That's the budget. First off, I want to start off by saying, we're still in somewhat of a transition role. I want to thank the Finance Committee, that includes the Treasurer, Michelle Hutton, Ms. Courtney, the Chair.
not me.
I'm sorry, my apologies.
It's okay.
Ms. Surfer. The mayor, and then also, whose birthday is tomorrow, by the way, along with Mr. Tuning and Marty Hart, and especially Roy Kahn, who continues to assist with a transitional issue. So let me present the budget as follows. The general fund balances at $772,532 of expenditures, with general administration at $447,787, public safety $17,000, public works $112,100, building and grounds and with $41,860, pool at $72,600, planning community development at $81,185, offset by revenues with general property taxes of $261,000, other local taxes $353,232, revenue from property $57,200, revenue from pool $72,600, and other revenue at $28,500. The real estate property tax rate will remain the same as the previous year at 21 cents per $100 of assessed value. The personal property tax rate will remain at 37 cents per $100 of assessed value. The water fund, as proposed, balances at $725,000, with general administration of $104,224, system operations $100,251, system upgrades $168,525, debt service at $52,000, well construction at $300,000, and revenues at $375,000 for charge for services, and loan proceeds of $350,000. Now, you'll note on the proposed advertisement, other water fund revenue is at zero. The county, the town attorney is doing an update on the water ordinance that, if presented and adopted, would clarify some enforcement issues that would give us more of a green light in selections. At the present time, your uncollected water bills amounts to $29,333.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow, it's a lot.
Now, if we could get even, so obviously anything coming back in there with a zero in the budget is going to help out on that side. Now, the water budget also is built upon proposed in-town bi-monthly water rate schedule for the fiscal year 24-25 as follows. Minimum usage, 6,000 gallons, $49.74. Over 6,000 gallons, $4.62 per 1,000 gallons. This amounts to a 10% increase in the water fees. That is because we are out of sync between our in-town and out-of-town rates, and we need to close that gap up. But we've also not been successful in pursuit of some grant money
Right.
because of the low fee rate that we have.
Right.
In the reality, I think you saw in today's newspaper about some of the difficulties the county's having with some of their projects. The cost is just off the roof. Everything is more expensive. The proposed out-of-town bi-monthly rate schedule for fiscal year 24-25 will remain as follows. Again, we're trying to close that gap, so we got to bring the bottom up. The minimum usage of 6,000 gallons would be $83.08, and over 6,000 gallons, $8 per thousand. Moving to the Tabor Fund, this also balances at $30,000 with $10,000 to the following: $10,000 to the Middlesex Volunteer Fire Department, $10,000 to the library, $10,000 to the rescue squad, with balancing revenues anticipated from fund interest. Upton's Point Marina balances at $71,600, with general administration at $30,584, operations $22,300, and improvements at $18,716. And revenues from fees at $70,750, and sales and rental at $850. All the self-funding community activities balance, such as second Saturdays, and the banners at $12,000 total. And that's expenditures and revenues. There's not a breakout line there. The next item is what is proposed in this budget is the closing of the DMV select. So there's zero expenditures and zero revenues, although the closing date would probably be into the next fiscal year. Now, the reason for that is basically the town's losing money. The town's losing money, and it's not meeting the terms and conditions of the contract, which requires 2 full-time persons to deal with it. We are keeping our nostril above water with Ms. Kimball, but then Ms. Hutton, we're just not able to cover that like we need to and take care of the traffic that comes into the office for anything from golf carts to zoning complaints to whatever it may be. I would like to let you all know that if we were to try to meet just the staffing requirement, we're probably looking at a 3, maybe even 4-cent increase in real estate to cover not only what we're losing, but to also cover that which we have to do. I have a copy of the contract here. Of course, it's a public document. Anybody's welcome to it. But in reading through it, I did a little counting, and I found out that there are requirements on the town. There are 31 separate requirements. Of those 31 separate requirements, there are 26 sub-requirements. And in the 26 sub-requirements, there are 3 additional requirements. So doing the math real quick, you come up with about 60 requirements that the town has to perform. D and V has to perform 5. Okay, so I think it's pretty obvious the contract's a little out of balance. I want you to also know, and for those who are listening, that we made some overtures to D and V to say, okay, how else can we work this? And so one of the things that we talked about was seeing if they would be willing to bring in their own staff, and we would, accommodate them with, the break room and the restrooms and the common area and everything, and just bring them into the family. But we would rent the space out and kind of flip the equation a little bit. They had no interest in that whatsoever. They were willing to bring in somebody to help cover for Ms. Kimball when she takes her maternity leave, but long-term, they were expecting us to start doing more and more and more and more to meet the terms of that contract. Literally, you could take one person over there and service what comes in on a daily basis, and the other person would be constantly having to market, and then having to have 2 people here. It's not like they could go and do the sales pitch. They would have to be in the office trying to do phone sales. So those are basically the numbers for you and the issues. Staff will seek permission to move forward with advertising in conformance to the schedule that's also provided in your packet. There is one other item I've neglected. Looking at that, going back to your proposed water rate increase, that will require a separate ordinance, separate public hearing, and all that material is in your packet. So we would like to move forward with all of this at the same time. If we could, be happy to take any questions.
If I can augment some of the stuff that you said when it comes to the DMV Select, if you think about the contract, and this is not only just my personal business expense or experience, but I also looked up to see if I was out of bounds. The average amount of your gross income that you should dedicate towards or expect to spend towards your personnel is 20 to 35%. I know in the veterinary field it was 40 to 50%, depending on what your margins were and what your longevity of staff was. But DMV Select is expecting us to do this on really 4 to 5% because it's not like we weren't doing any business. The last year over year was $330,000. You should be able to pay for one staff person if you have a gross revenue of $330,000, but we're not even close. And to make it pay, we would need to do over $1 million at the rate that we're bringing in money, and that's just tough to do. And I mean, Ted and I have talked about this extensively about how it's a great service for this locality, but what is really going on is the DMV, Virginia DMV, is expecting the taxpayers of Urbanna to subsidize their little outlet.
Right.
And when you look at it in that direction, then, I think if we asked anybody in this room if we were willing to, let's say you had a $300,000 house, you would be paying to have that convenience here personally $100 to $200 a year. And most people, they say, well, I'll go down to Matthews or across the bridge for $200 a year.
Right.
And I realize it's a service for other people that are in the very near vicinity, but they're not paying for that convenience.
Right. Right.
We are.
Right.
So that's part of the thought process of going into it.
In looking at it on the finance committee, there are also other questions. We're gonna raise $72,000 for the pool, that type of thing. I don't wanna do it, but it is the right thing to do. It's just- We just,
You and I had a fairly tense discussion.
yeah, but, it's just more expensive than we can't afford,
Yep.
best way to put it.
Right. Yep.
And we have questions about
And
this year and budget.
and we have an obligation based on the contract to actually add one more full-time person, which would bump it from 3 cents up to 7 cents to cover the current rate of income.
Yep.
Is that in the contract?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
But we anticipated, The hope was that being here, that we would get this traffic, and it has gone up. Right, it has gone up, and we're at, what, 2.5 years now? Was it, didn't it start 2 years ago, February, March?
Yes,
Yep.
but it also hasn't been advertised at all. There's been no advertising. Just like the museum's not advertised, the marina's not advertised, nothing's advertised. It just expect people to come. Build it and they will come.
They did advertise in the river
So-
last year. It was on the inside front page.
Last year?
Yeah.
Yep.
But the town isn't a money-making entity, regardless of what we're discussing, whether it's the DMV. The museum is not a moneymaker, has 2 employees, 1 volunteer.
But that's not costing us
Sir-
the money the DMV does.
Yeah.
The museum does cost you money.
I know, but it's
Right.
not costing us the amount of money that
Personnel.
the DMV is.
So what services do we offer to the town, to the taxpayer?
I don't know, let's unincorporate.
I don't disagree with what you're saying, Margie.
No, I'm just trying to ask some questions, just so
Yeah.
that, you know,
I mean, I didn't want to let it go, but,
I know it's a good idea.
yeah, and.
I mean, we want the
and we gave it-
taxpayer to think, you know, to realize that they're receiving a service. I mean, trash pickup and lights, you know, that's what they have. The pool's not a service. You have to pay to go to the pool.
Water.
It is a service.
It is.
The-
We have
It's-
parks,
it-
we have water, we have
So, water's a service.
Water
I mean,
is a
you gotta
service, but
pay
that-
for it,
the
but
museum.
You have to pay for it, and that has
if
to
you
be
didn't have a
provided,
town,
so.
You may not have it.
Excuse
Right.
Mayor, Can
So,
you ask
Yeah.
the council to only have one person speak
Yeah,
at a
yeah.
time? I'm picking up all of the conversations that are going on while
Okay.
Audrey's trying to say.
All right.
Thank you.
well, just like I said, there's services that, you know, the town's not a money-making entity, and the services often operate in the red. And if there's a public hearing, I'm sure that you would have enough folks to come in here and to let you know that it is a service that they would like to keep.
We're gonna have a public hearing on the budget. That
Right.
would be the time to do that.
We're asking for
Yeah.
the authorization to go ahead with advertising at the schedule that was presented in your packet.
Right.
Anyone else? Okay. And these are the copies of the notice of public hearing?
Yes. In draft. And it's for the budget as well as the necessary advertisements for the ordinance to increase the water fee
Right, and,
in town.
Mr. Costin pointed out that if you look at the most recent Draper-Aden report, which tracks these small municipalities and their water rate, we're still below the average for municipalities that are our size. And again, for us to be eligible for certain things from Virginia Rural Water, I think was the last one, that it was a requirement. Your in-town rate, your out-of-town rate can't be more than 1.5 times your in-town rate. Did I say that right? Your out-of-town rate, yes. And so that means out-of-town rate, even now, shouldn't be more than $75, and it's 83. So we're closing the gap. Additionally, when Bill Smith was first looking at this stuff at this point several years ago, we found that the town hadn't raised water rates in 11 years. And part of the reason was because every time that HRSD raised a water rate, the people on council at that time didn't have the appetite because HRSD bumped up to increase the town rate, even though the town got blamed for the increase. And so we just instituted a policy of squeezing it up a little bit at a time, so that we would start to close some of those gaps and start to have an impact on the needs to keep this system going, because 2021 dollars, I think we identified $7.5 million worth of infrastructure upgrades that are needed. And right now, we're putting patches over patches. And it still works, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and to be eligible for some of this stuff, what USDA and some of these other entities want to know is that you're charging what not only would allow you to pay back the loan,
Right.
but if you're not charging what everybody else is charging, then why do you need the money from them? So you have to move those things to make yourself in a spot where you're a little more competitive.
The reasoning behind past councils keeping it lower in town was just like you're talking about, Margaret, service. They felt like, well, folks in town are paying town taxes much more than what other town are paying, so
Right.
that we ought to raise the water rates. But now we're caught in this thing where we've got to raise it, or we can't get loans. So we just got to move forward with it.
All right. Any other thoughts?
So what is the thought process of not even raising real estate tax or personal property tax by even like a penny?
We talked.
I know Larry doesn't. I know that's a bone with Larry, so I'm just trying to understand, not for any specific reason, purpose, but why are we not looking at that as well?
We talked about it and decided that we would go to the area where we felt there was the highest need in the long term to try and generate income towards the infrastructure of the water system, and that we would get less pushback there because our water is still a deal, where the tax rate is something that's in addition to what the people are already paying to the county, and that's got a little more resistance.
So the finance committee actually makes these decisions and just comes and says, this is what we're doing?
No, you
You're-
make,
You have to
you're-
vote.
you make this
You,
as a council.
Yeah.
member. You
okay,
make-
it just seems like the way you just spoke about that was like,
Yeah, it was the
you
recommendation.
decided.
Yeah.
You decided, you said, we decided, so that's why I was asking, because I was a little confused. I thought you were.
Well, yeah, it still has to be voted on.
Right,
I mean, that's what the committees are there to advise.
Right.
And the council then has to say, well, we don't like that, and so we want to do something different. And
gotcha.
if you, it's probably too late to change the tax rate because of advertising and stuff, but I don't think we want to go there.
No, I was just asking,
Yeah,
the point behind not doing that.
yeah, and future budgets, it's, with inflation where it is, my bet is that future budgets, we are going to have to go up a little bit, because in retrospect, we probably should have dropped down to 22 cents rather than 21 cents when we cut back to keep things a little more equitable, because we actually, on the real estate tax side, decreased the amount of revenue that we're dealing with, even though our costs have gone up.
Right.
But like I said, we're, taking one step at a time to not have the impact be so great on the constituency. That's our recommendation, to say it that way, rather than edict.
And we talked about in a penny or 2 cents, but it doesn't generate a great deal of money. Is it 12.5?
Yeah, a little over $12,000.
So that would have been 25,000. That wouldn't have helped us with DMV.
No, I'm just saying, it would help with help with anything, the
Everything.
trash contract, the pool, the Tabor Fund money,
Well,
that has to be,
Yep.
repaid. So
Yep, all of that.
this wasn't a question based on DMV, it was a question
Right.
based on,
well, I'm still hoping that the TAPA fund is going to pay for itself.
right,
Yep,
And I
and
think
it's
it's
close.
close,
The market was down
yep,
today, but it was at 985,000
It was
yes,
yesterday,
Yeah,
I think.
right.
yep, it was really good yesterday.
So it's really close.
Tabor Fund.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions or issues there? Mr. Costin, anything else to say? Thoughts?
Available for questions.
So, action items?
Billy,
Oh,
I don't know.
wait till,
No, you're just a taxpayer, you can't talk.
yeah, wait till the end.
We have, basically, we're just, the staff is looking for direction to proceed with the advertisements as presented for you this evening.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, we can, to the question about raising, we can do it, we can bring in a tax rate increase, and just give you the option, okay, it's not a recommendation, it's just the option. But we would have to craft the ordinance and get that into the paper pretty much in sync and parallel with the other advertisements. Just option, not a recommendation.
yeah.
I was not asking for a tax rate. I was just asking what, Bill knows what I was.
Let the record show that Marjorie Austin asked for a tax increase in the rest of the.
That's right.
No, no,
That's right. Yeah, put that in the paper.
Tom, don't you do that to me.
In an election year.
All right. Do we need a motion to have you do that, or just acquiescence of the?
To say that for staff to proceed with the budget and related documents as presented.
And every,
So moved.
Second.
Other related
okay.
documents.
Yeah.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Any more discussion? Ms. Sturgill,
Yes.
Mary Hanson,
Yes.
Alana Courtney.
Yes.
I say yes. Larry,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Marjorie.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Billy Mayo, would you like to say one thing?
Yes, I'd like to bring something up. Years ago, Urbanna had the best water you could drink. Since Hampton Road's taken it over, I have to buy water. Now, if I don't have to buy water, I don't mind if water goes up. Because I spend $10, $15 a week in water, bottles of water.
Hampton Roads
But
doesn't have anything
they-
to do with the water.
Hampton
Well,
Roads
whoever's
is,
up here doing it.
Okay.
That-
It's the same. It's been.
that's us.
Well,
We're doing the water.
the,
Well, that water's getting treated by, not by us.
Oh, no.
It's contracted out through Sidney.
Sidner.
Sidner
Yeah, Sidner
Hydro.
Hydro's had the contract for.
Yeah,
think
Sidner Hydro
decades.
does
Yeah,
that
it's
for,
disgusting, I agree.
That's what I'm getting at. And this new well coming on, people are asking me, is the water gonna be better?
It's the same aquifer.
I know, that's
No,
why we need
it's,
people
no,
to
they
increase
started,
that
they,
water.
in the early years, they didn't treat it. But then
yeah, 'cause you had real
something
well water
obviously
then.
happened where it was, required us to treat it. And it tastes different sometimes, and sometimes to me it tastes the same. It just depends on, yeah.
And I thought,
Yeah.
But it's being done through, I'm sure, the public health department, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
I'm
there's
sure
certain
they keep
requirements.
check,
yeah.
check,
They're-
check on
they're
what
requirements,
Sidner's doing, yeah.
doesn't it also depend, we talked about the water committee, the pipes that it's coming through. If you've got old pipes coming up from your house, like
Same pipes I had years
my water,
Make sure they're not lead pipes.
My water's delicious.
yeah.
Mine sometimes is chloriney too, so I think that's just when they're doing whatever they need to do, but
We're paying for water. We're not
I
gonna
remember
pay
it was
for that much.
delicious.
I understand, but I drink mine, sorry.
All right. I think that's probably, any other announcements? Pool dedication, 7:30.
11:30.
Yeah. 7:30, Mary.
Okay, I'll be there at
11:30 on Saturday. Be there or be square.
rain or
have to wear
shine.
bathing suits.
Yes, rain or shine.
Rain or shine. Again, thank you to all those people that have made this happen, and they will be thanked again on Saturday. And I guess, is that it?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Motion is moved to second. Any discussion
Sam.
of that?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Marjorie Austin.
Yes.
Beth Justice.
Yes.
Larry Tuning.
Yes.
I say yes. Alana Courtney.
Yes.
Mary Hanson.
Yes.
Sandy Sturgill.
Yes.
Thank you all for coming.
Yeah.